I'm here to talk about the state of affiliate marketing and the idea of an omni-channel program. So this is obviously a big issue for everybody, and a lot of different approaches have taken place here, many of them wrong. But let's first take a look at the affiliate channel and why you should be paying attention to this. 80% of advertisers are running affiliate programs. 84% of publishers are running affiliate programs. Not convincing enough, $4.2 billion moving to $6.8 billion. You can read the data up here. You've got $39 billion in revenue coming into the affiliate channel. It's the fastest growing channel of marketing, period. 80% of affiliates or 80% of merchants are allocating 10% of their budget, and 14% of commerce is happening now through the affiliate channel. When I started in 1999, it was less than 1%. It's growing really fast. Look at the transactions that happened this year. We're looking at a $2.3 billion purchase on Commission Junction. We're looking at that was actually a $1.5 billion purchase for Ebates by Linkshare. And then eBay Enterprise, Primera, Banneker, the whole Magento transaction, we're part of that same family, was a $982 billion transaction. Pepperjam, our company, is owned by Primera, just like Magento. We're a marketing side, separate companies, but part of the same family. So let's talk about omnichannel. We don't have a lot of time, and I know there's going to be questions. I hope there's going to be questions. So I'm going to go right into this, and then you guys can bring up things that you're interested in talking more about. On average, 78% of consumers abandon transactions. On average, 80% have plans to go in store. Now, I always do this, so be honest, and let me just ask you a question. If you shop online, and then after you shop online, you go in store, right? Just raise your hand. So I do this every time. And most of the time when I do this, more than 50% of the people say, yeah, I browse online, I look online, and then eventually I go in store. Maybe they're trying on a pair of shoes that they looked online. They're trying to smell the cologne. They want to hear the headphones. Because the offline people are now matching the prices online, you have people shopping offline shopping online and then taking that price in store. Evidence of that is also that you have these people price matching for the internet. So there's a lot of results here showing that this is actually happening. So this produces a big problem for the omni-channel folks. How are we going to handle this? How are we going to handle online, that's us, right, dealing with this traffic, this immense traffic that's going offline? How do we track it? So the solutions have been pretty horrible to date. So one of the solutions was, okay, we're going to have printable coupons. So we're going to print a coupon. The person's going to bring it in store. They're going to go up to the register. When they go up to the register, the clerk behind the register is supposed to understand how that works. And they're supposed to have integration. But that never happens. First of all, the consumer is standing behind the counter, sitting there go, here's a coupon, and makes them look cheesy. They're embarrassed. There's three people behind them while the clerk tries to figure out how their machine works. Second of all, it doesn't track it appropriately anyway, and it requires a ton of integration. So you have to go through and you have to integrate the e-commerce platform into the offline platform. And this just doesn't work. So then you have mobile. And the mobile side is people get an app or they get some sort of coupon on their phone, and then they go in store, and then they try to do it that way. Same problem. Requires integration. Requires the ability for somebody to track it in store. So most of the time, these things haven't been married yet. You saw a lot of evidence of this. You have eBay trying to figure out how to do omnichannel by buying Magento. You have all of these different commerce platforms. SAP buys Hybris. Oracle ATG. Oracle buys the ATG platform. You have IBM buying WebSphere. All these guys are trying to solve this omnichannel platform by having offline solutions and buying online solutions and figuring out this issue. The only thing that I've seen that actually works is this idea of card linking. Now, by a show of hands, who understands what card linking is? All right, so let me explain what it is for the majority of you. Simply put, the way it works is that if somebody's online and they see an offer that says either buy in store or buy online, they have the ability to click buy in store. When that happens, a little pop-up comes up. That little pop-up has an area for their credit card number, the expiration date, and their email. When they put that in, it links the credit card to that store. It shows them the closest store to them. They buy in store, they swipe their credit card. Essentially, the credit card number itself is the tracking device. It's the tracking pixel. When that person goes in store, once that card is linked, it's looking for that transaction, every transaction that comes through all the different stores, all the different retail stores. When it sees it, it reports back to the network, and it tells the network a transaction happened, and it tracks the transaction, sends the data back just like any other transaction. So there's no integration from the platform that they're using in store. The customer has zero embarrassment. It just swipe the card, they're done. They get a rebate back on their credit card, usually within a few days. And there's no integration at all to the e-commerce platform or to the offline platform. Does that make sense? Is there any questions about that before I go on? Yes? Because the credit card number is tracked by Visa and MasterCard, his question was, how do you keep it secure? Because it's PII information. So the credit card, so it's Visa and MasterCard are the ones that hold the data. When they find the transaction, they only send back things that are non-PII. Does that make sense? So you get the transaction back, and now you have a way to track omnichannel, and it's 100% accurate. Are there any questions about that stuff? No, you should have questions. Let me tell you the questions that you should have. First of all, what about attribution? All right, so what about stacking offers? So what if they go online and they get a 10% cash rebate, and then they go in store and they get a 50% discount off the clearance rack, and now they go in and buy in store. Now you've got an attribution, you've got stacked offers, and you have to pay out now the commission from the affiliate who did the transaction, you have to pay out the discount, and on top of that, you still have to pay out the 50% off on the rack and any clearance items. You also have taxes. The downfall of card linking is that the transaction payout is done based on the total amount of the receipt. So that includes taxes. That includes anything and everything that's on that, including all stacking. Now, the way that you account for this is you figure out, you look at your data and you figure out how much you need to adjust the payout to accommodate for the situation occurring, and then you reduce your payout. You still have the ability to track these transactions when they come offline in store, and it still gives you the ability to motivate publishers to do this so you can pick up the tracking. That brings up another question that you should have. The next question is, and merchants seldomly ask this, but they should be asking this, where is the area that you don't have any data? Now, everybody's a data fiend, right? Everybody in this room is after data. A lot of the presentations and things that are happening here at the show, all about data. Analytics, big data, analytics, all over the place, constantly, right? Everybody's trying to figure out analytics. Where do you have zero data? Let's look at this again. You have zero data on omnichannel. If you have an offline store and you're doing online stuff, do you have any data like this that shows you what percentage of your people are abandoning and going in store? You don't. So why would you pay out a commission on transactions that you may already be getting because you know that they're planning on going on in store? That's the question you should have, right? Why would you do that? How much do you pay for data and analytics right now? Now, how would it change your marketing processes if you knew how many people were abandoning and going in store? How would that change the way you market? And what kind of data would be helpful to you to know? Like things like typically when somebody goes in store, it's 4 to 12 times, the AOV is 4 to 12 times more. The marketing dollar online is multiplied offline because you have impulse buys. You know, they seldomly walk out with one thing. When people shop online, they buy one thing, they leave, they know what they want, end of story. But if they go in store, now you have a situation where you have people who are getting sold multiple different things. They don't just buy the iPhone, they don't just buy the headphones. They walk out of the store with 5 or 6 different things because the stores are built that way, even up to the point that you get to the register. So why would you want to pay for that? That's why you would want to pay for that. Because just like any other discount, it comes in multiples back to you if you have the information you need to monetize those customers appropriately. Does that make sense to everybody? Big deal. You should have questions about that sort of thing. Wrong button. Going backwards. So when we look at this and we look at the comparison of what are the omni-channel options right now, outside of the integration option, which doesn't exist, it doesn't work, nobody's figured it out. You look at the card linking option and you look at their 0 setup fee, it's low cost, it's performance-based, you only pay when you get a transaction. And there's very little integration involved. There's no customer barriers. There's no clerk management of the process. They don't need to know anything or what happens with it. There's a large amount of customer education. So along with the stacking, you also have customer education. Customers are still getting used to the idea of a pop-up coming up and putting in a credit card number and not actually buying anything at that point, but registering themselves to buy something later in order to get a rebate. So there is some customer education. This will change over time as it becomes more popular. But there is a little bit of, so what you have to do when you do these things and you set them up is in that initial popover that comes up, or a light box, or however you set it up, you have information in there that makes the customer feel secure. It's branded to the merchant. It has all kinds of security things. It explains to them what's happening, so that they understand what's going on. The conversion rates on this have been absolutely massive. Almost every single person who registers a card goes through with the transaction. They love doing it. And the PII information. Those are the two, that customer education process where you're asking for PII information like their credit card number and the expiration date is a challenge, and so there's some education. Now the alternative is mobile and paper. And mobile and paper, there's a huge amount of setup cost, initial setup cost. It is low cost on a recurring basis because it is performance-based. There is moderate integration. There is some integration required to it. There are definite customer barriers. There is definite change management that has to occur with the clerk so they understand how this thing works. And there's no management of the customers because it doesn't ask for any PII information. It's just a download. But it also doesn't convert very well. So I want to open it up to the floor so you guys can ask questions about this.
Hi. How do you incentivize the customer to put their credit card in on the online front?
So typically you give them a rebate. So, in the old days, you'd have a manufacturer suggested rebate, right? So you have a rebate and they mail you something, right? And that gets them to come in, and they would mail you something to go in store in order to get you to shop. It's the same idea. So what happens is they get, instead of a discount on the transaction, they get a rebate based on the amount of the transaction. So it could be a 10%. You just basically take a coupon, turn it upside down, and you turn it into a rebate. And that incentivizes the consumer to use the process. What other questions? Did I just give you the questions and then answer them? Is that why nobody has any questions? Let me answer this question. I don't work for the card linking companies. I'm the chief strategy officer for Pepperjam. But part of our strategic play is to understand how to optimize and monetize these transactions that we're losing as a transaction-based network. And if you're a merchant and you're here, you should be worried about the same exact thing, because what I've found out is that the offline people and the online people are often totally different groups, and most of the time they're competitors with each other. The offline people are blaming the online people for taking their transactions, which does happen, and the online people are blaming the offline people because people go in store. You can only fix one of those. You can fix the revenue that's going from the online people to the offline people. And I've been looking into this for about 3 years. I've looked at card linking several different times and several different people that offer card linking, and this to me is the best solution as it stands right now. It's empirical, the data is true. The obstacles I've given you, what they are, you have to account for that stuff. If you're going to put card linking in place, you have to really, really think about that because it is an issue when you look at stacking and that sort of thing. And you have to accommodate for that when you set your payouts for these kind of transactions. What we're doing as a network is we're taking, normally the way card linking works is that you as a merchant goes and sets up your own account with them and you have your own one single account. So you have one account for you and your consumers. What we're doing is we're making it so that the entire affiliate base, all the affiliates that you have, hundreds or thousands of affiliates that you have, all become card linking affiliates so that it multiplies dramatically the results that you get. They're marketing in-store and offline. So we're actually opening this to every affiliate instead of each affiliate having to get their own card linking strategy set up, which dramatically changes the competitive landscape when it comes to this. We have investigated different models, different vendors, different channel partners to use for this. We have decided on using the Quotient as a partner. There are some solutions with Visa and MasterCard down the line to be able to do SKU-based tracking, which would allow the idea of the stacking to go away. They would be able to take out any SKUs that weren't supposed to be paid for, so that would get rid of any stacking and any taxes. But that's about 6 months to a year down the line. American Express does do it, but it's a nightmare to get set up, and only 6% of the transactions seem to be coming from American Express in this situation. So really, it's all about Visa and MasterCard. That's it.